back to This Week on the Gridiron, the 4th edition, guys. We made it this far. I'm your host, Brooke Communihan, alongside me, Matt St. Jean, Jude Loom, and I know you missed him, Julian Wiggum.
What's up?
Beat reporter for Scout.com. He covers Syracuse football. Also a former defensive back for the Syracuse Orange. So, welcome back, guys. Week 4, are we ready?
Oh, so ready. Talk about it. Week 3, NFL. Best week of the season so far.
Definitely.
First 2 weeks was down a little bit. The action took off.
Yeah.
That first slate of games. The field goal. Sorry, dude. The field goal.
Oh man.
Brady's touchdown pass.
We're gonna start
Great
this
week
one.
3.
We're all
So
getting-
week 4
already
has a
getting
lot
into
to.
Boston.
Even
Has a-
you know how you knew it was gonna be a good week of games. Everybody was complaining, oh, the Thursday games suck. Even the Thursday game was probably like the best game of the season so far, man. But
The action was way up there, I agree, from the previous 2 weeks, but a lot had gone on this week that we need to address, obviously, with the protests. Do we agree? Do we disagree? Who wants to go first and share their thoughts? Jude, I think you're ready.
I guess I'll go ahead and go first. I mean, the protests. My thing about it is, how can you disagree with somebody's constitutional right? Freedom of speech. I mean, yes, it's during the football game, but it's basically you're saying, I don't want you to express yourself on my time. And that's like really selfish. But my overall problem with it is that you're not even looking at the message of what these players are trying to convey.
I think the message kind of got pushed aside, and people are kind of writing a new narrative
Exactly.
of what Colin Kaepernick's original message was, which was...
From the very beginning, he came out and said, I don't like the way police kind of treat black people.
Right.
Not to say, I don't know what he's saying, but I don't feel like he was saying, all police are corrupt or all police are bad.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just saying that the recent events of how black people are getting killed by police and there's basically nothing happening to these policemen that kill people is not right. He further on went to say, it's kind of like institutionalized where black people are just kind of they're set back a lot because of the way things are in the country, and he couldn't stand and salute a flag that's kind of like a symbol of oppression for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand that because me as a black man, I've had numerous interactions with police. I've never been arrested. I don't do anything illegal, but I've had interaction with police where it's like, I had to really explain myself. Like, I'll give you one example. I'm at home. I'm being a good person and bringing food to my aunt who is sick. And then a police officer comes into my building lobby and he says, it was you, stay right there. And I'm in my home. I'm in flip-flops. I'm in like my home clothes.
Yeah.
I got some shorts on and a t-shirt. He's like, yeah, I was chasing after you for 2 blocks. I'm like, I have flip-flops on. I'm not breathing hard. And it's like the middle of winter. I have no coat or anything. You were chasing me? And he just looks at me and he just like gives me back my stuff and then just walks away. And it's like, this is what I have to deal with in my own home. So I can completely understand where Colin Kaepernick is coming from, where he says, black people are viewed as a different kind of way from police. But at the same time, these protests, that's what it's like. It's meant to bring attention to that. Mm-hmm. But it's just more, it's disrespecting the flag.
Yeah, they turned it into patriotism, and it's not. It's not supposed to be like that. Like I said, they rewrote the narrative of what was going on last season. A lot of people turned it into disrespecting the flag, respecting troops and veterans, and it's gotten out of hand. And I support doing what you're doing, and taking advantage of the First Amendment and speaking your thoughts. But you need to understand, the fans and the media need to understand what exactly is going on and what they're standing up against, because they don't anymore. I
don't understand how some people can say, this is what you're doing, you're disrespecting the flag, when pretty much all of these players have came out and said, we're not trying to disrespect the flag. We appreciate the troops. This is why we're doing it. But I'm going to completely, some fans are saying, I'm going to completely disregard what you say you're doing it for and just say this is what you're doing it for and take offense. And it's like you're disrespecting what I feel by saying that.
I think this past weekend, why it came to the forefront was obviously Trump's
It was
tweets.
wide scale too, yeah.
And I think the message, gets a little lost because the week before you had like maybe 2 or 3 players on every team that were taking part in the protest, whether sitting on the bench or taking a knee or raising their fist during the national anthem. And then this week it was like
madhouse.
league-wide.
Yeah.
So
Every team participated
Yeah.
just
Are
about.
they,
In different levels,
are they
too.
protesting? Is that the original message, or are they just protesting for the sake of protesting to say, give them like a big FU to Donald Trump?
I hate the Donald Trump aspect of it because it's
Yeah.
going to further dilute the message where everybody is kind of just so against Donald Trump, they're going to participate. And now
Also-
is everybody like for the message? I don't know, but everybody is saying.
You think Jerry Jones is for the message?
Exactly. Everybody is basically now saying, we don't agree with Trump.
This happened
Yeah.
before Trump
We can
was
do- we
even
can
in
do-
Exactly.
presidency.
And it
Colin
didn't
Kaepernick
get
went
this
out last
widespread
season.
coverage.
But week 3, there was like 2 people that would do it on every team.
And then it was
this
the whole
week-
Steelers team going in the locker room with one guy
Yeah.
who was a veteran coming out.
All right, we have a lot of moving parts here, and
Break it down for us, Jim.
what's important is to realize that the protest has become so diluted because we have leaders of it with no integrity, and then we have supporters who are corrupt. And what I mean by that is Colin Kaepernick, in my opinion, has acted as demagogue and is using the protest of, what black people have identified as police brutality and used it initially as his own way of drawing attention to himself and creating a media storm around him. I fully believe that only because when he initially started, he started off in the back and people weren't saying anything, but all of a sudden, when you ask him about these issues, he doesn't want to talk about it.
I think it's because he doesn't want to be associated with what the.
How many times did they?
is.
How many times did they ask? How many times did they ask Martin Luther King what his issue was? He would go out and he would say it regardless. He was out there trying to get that message out there as much as possible. Go ask these NFL players, what are you protesting? Because you identified,
half of them don't
you,
even know.
You identified, Jude, that these kneels are for for police brutality, right?
Mhm.
You ask these players what they're protesting, and they say it's a much bigger issue. It's the social injustices that going on in this world.
It's
And
encompassed within
the
all of
issue
it.
with that is, if there is not a clear and identified reason for your protest, that is how you allow the media. When we're all, every single person in this room right now is studying journalism. Okay, we all sit here, and yet we're watching major networks out here lie and put wrong is false narratives out there in 4 words. Then there is no Colin Kaepernick is protesting the flag. There is no, NFL is not protesting the flag. These players that you take in there are not protesting the flag, and they're putting out this message that is just inflammatory and become this firestorm and dumpster fire of a protest now. And it's caused Donald Trump to come out here now and say his stupid comments and put his own dumb footprint on whatever's going on out there. And it's just become a complete. I can't say this on. We're picking up
what you're putting down.
Yeah.
we're picking
I
up
think
what
I'm
you're
sorry,
everyone
but-
agrees.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that it has become an issue that is far overblown. And the one thing that I just want to say is that we've lost track of the message. And I think that there is a very real message in there. There is police brutality in this world.
Mm-hmm.
There are social injustices that still plague the black community and disenfranchise black people as a whole, and have continued throughout Jim Crow and the new Jim Crow right now, the police. The prison industrial system and how it intersects with the poor communities in black culture. So there are certainly things to be protested for, and I think that the cause is genuine and authentic. But the issue is
But it needs to have a focus.
It needs
Exactly.
a focus, and it has been diluted by corrupt leaders and disingenuous followers and supporters. The
Well,
NFL is protecting the shield right now.
Kaepernick started this so his ass wouldn't get cut by the 49ers. And
I
I'm with you
fully
on that.
believe that. I fully
Earlier
believe
on
that.
Monday, he had talked to a Green Beret beforehand to ask how he goes about doing this message, and this Green Beret fully supported him. He's like, here, this is what you need to do. This is how it should go down peacefully. So I never knew that. He talked to a Green Beret, someone in the military who is a veteran, going to be a veteran when he retires, and
But you've seen veterans that have come out and say we fought, not for just the flag, but for your right to the First Amendment and to protest.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
So I think Scott Van Pelt had a great segment last night where he said, if you're getting mad at this, you just want to be mad.
Pretty
and
much.
I think that's so true
Right.
of a lot of things that go on in this country,
For
where
some-
people are just being mad to be mad.
Will
For some
for
peop-
ignorance.
For
Yeah.
some people, if you don't get it, you're never gonna get it, and it's
I
just as
agree.
simple as that.
I think a lot of it has to do with social media now. Like Donald Trump, he tweeted about the NFL 11 times.
That's so
11
trouble. That's so
times.
troublesome.
It
has nothing
That
else
is.
to do.
It's
Not
so
about
trouble.
Puerto
It's
Rico,
so
not
troublesome.
about anything else.
We're on the verge of like war, nuclear war with
Yeah.
North Korea, and
And
this is
he's
what you
tweeting about
focus
the
on.
NFL in
You
Nuclear
have
war with North
Who
Korea will
cares?
last a half a day.
You have
So that shouldn't be a big concern.
you have the issue over in Charlottesville a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
where he takes all this time to address it, and then when he does address it, he's like, well, there's nice people on both sides, and then for a peaceful protest, he comes out and he's like, these SOBs need to be
Yeah.
fired.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's-
what kind of country are we living in right now where peaceful
Yeah.
protest gets you SOB, and going out there and actively saying, this is my country, you don't belong here, I'm a known racist? Well, they're nice people too. I mean, come on.
I don't want to get into politics, obviously, with this. I don't think any of
I
us
hate
do.
politics.
Hey,
Like,
do we need just a
Let's-
comprehensive deep breath, everybody?
Let's just
go,
push it
just-
forward.
let's get
Can we see
to
this in
it.
Week 4? Will
Let's
we
get
see
to it.
this in
Let's
week
go.
4?
This topic is giving me heartburn. Yeah.
Will we see this in week 4? Is it going to be the same thing as week 3? When
Yes.
teams, are they going to even do
Yeah.
it even more?
This
They're
week's
going to
episode is brought to
continue.
you by Tums. Julian's gonna need a bunch after it.
Oh my
I
goodness.
think it's kind of one of those things where to start out, everybody's jumping on board with it, but once it goes on further into the season, it kind of wears off a bit. And of course, it's tragic because at the end of it, the main theme of it, the initial cause, raising awareness about the plight of certain demographic of people, that's gonna get lost as well, and that's just a shame
I think it's
because
just going to change the
that's the
game of
conversation
football
that we should be
in
having, but
general.
it's not happening.
And I agree with everything. I want football back. I want my Sundays back. I don't want to have to worry about what people are saying on Twitter or what's
Yeah.
going on. Just play the game that you're paid for.
The
I
tweets
get
are
you
football
have
updates, not the percentage
Yeah.
of people that had their hand raises. Versus
exactly.
kneeling
I don't
down
care. I
and
want to
stuff like
see
that.
who's has the most yards for the Browns or something.
Well, that may be a
Yeah,
depressing
exactly. Negative
statistic
6.
most weeks.
All right, let's get Julian
Let's-
out of
yeah,
this
let's-
segment,
let's
guys,
move
because
on.
he is just looking like he's gonna be sick. All right, so Julian Wiggum back with us this week. He is a beat reporter for the Syracuse football team at Scout.com, also a former defensive back for the Orange. So we bring him in to talk a little bit about Syracuse and some college football. Let's recap last week. I was at the LSU Syracuse game. It was awesome. I thought we had them. Where do you think they went
They
wrong?
kept it close. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
shocked.
they did keep it close. And I was telling my editor, Mike McAllister, right before the game, like, I think it might be closer than people. Syracuse has no chance,
Mhm.
but it might be closer than people expect, and that's exactly what we saw. I think the biggest thing for this football team is we got to see the defense establish an identity for
yeah.
themselves.
They
Going
played
in,
awesome.
yeah, and it was great to see because a lot of the pressure schemes that they were showing against LSU they hadn't shown before. Now I just written a column about how the defense is now establishing themselves and becoming a defense with some bite now.
Mhm.
They were going after LSU's quarterback all game long, and if you take away the two long balls, the deep passes, this LSU team has no offense, especially in the first
I
half.
agree.
So I think Syracuse is playing an excellent game. Just got to tighten some things up in the secondary. I like what they're doing. If you take those long balls with the secondary, and this entire defense had a great game. So just got to fix some things on the back end, and then offensively, I love Eric Dungy.
What are your thoughts, though, on the first play of the game, interception?
Yeah, that's when you look at you look around your teammates like, damn, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes, that's something like it's a gut check at the beginning of the game, because offensively and defensively, because you're thinking to yourself, you have to ask yourself right away, who are we?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best thing that I think happened to the football team, because they had to ask that question and answer it to try to win that game. So even in the loss, there is no such thing as a moral victory, and we're not going to get into that.
Mhm.
But I do think that this Syracuse football team had something to game, and that was most certainly an identity.
I think they have a lot of go-ahead moving forward. I think they're going to be a team to be recognized with now.
Do you think one of their best players, LSU's best players, Darius Geis, not playing, factored into it?
No, I don't actually. Only because when he did play, he had I think it was about 8 carries for maybe 30-something yards.
Mm.
He did not have a great game, and the Syracuse game plan was to take away the rushing attack. And cool thing.
He got
that-
real excited. You need to tell us. Let's hear it.
The coolest thing that I saw was just that the game plan that defensive coordinator Coach Brian Ward put together, loading up the box, because Syracuse plays what is called a 22 person, or excuse me, LSU plays 22 personnel on offense. What that means is 2 tight ends and 2 fullbacks, or excuse me, 2 running backs, and what it creates is a big personnel group for the defense to try to stop. And the cool thing that I thought, I mean, it's not the coolest thing, it's getting really nerdy, but the cool thing I thought was that Coach Ward would counteract that by moving corners back to safety and then putting linebackers in spots that corners would places that they can play against the run. And I just thought the game plan was perfect because they're all just attacking. You just saw attack, and it was just beautiful football to see. So I'm really excited to see what they do going forward. I like that the coaching staff created an entirely new game plan, and it was effective because they were talking about the week before, we don't have the left tackles or the running backs to do these things. But they managed to find a way to keep themselves in the game.
Not only a new game plan, but you're playing in Death Valley. Does that kind of get into the mindset of the players like, hey, we're in this big stage?
Yeah, that's the one thing that I was looking forward to seeing what these guys do, just embracing that opportunity in that moment. You got a situation where you're playing in front of 96,000 people. That's something that they're never going to get to do again. But that opportunity, the biggest thing is not to be overwhelmed by it, but to embrace it. And it was very easy to become overwhelmed by that situation after the pick six. But they embraced it, they fought back, and they made it a fight all the way throughout. That I think, honestly, on the field, Syracuse won. They lost that game through poor clock management and coaching. So I put that one on Coach Bears, but on the field, his players did everything they had to do to win that game.
Some simple mistakes, a couple of missed touchdown passes.
Oh, yeah, the drop.
Off his fingers, he should have had it.
After his coming out party against Central
crazy
Michigan.
Part, the crazy part, when I was looking at that, and I see the ball in the air, and I'm like, he's going to drop this one. I knew, it was just like, I was like, you see balls like that, and it's like, that's just Syracuse football right there. Look at him. Watch him drop this. Boom. And
Syracuse is the Browns of college football.
They're not that bad.
I'm kidding.
I don't know about that.
I just wanted your reaction.
Hot take.
It's not my hot take. I just wanted
Julian
Julian's
to come
reaction.
back on the show every once in a
like
while.
to say I'm retiring.
I'm totally kidding. So let's move forward. Another road game. We're heading down to NC State.
Yes.
What are your thoughts
I had
here?
a question.
Go ahead. Matt has a question.
What has Paris Bennett done for his stock so far this season? I know Zaire
Going to the
Franklin,
NFL?
like just in general, Zaire Franklin was kind of the focal linebacker, but has Paris Bennett played into the conversation where it's like a dominant 1-2 punch in the middle?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've been a dominant 1-2 punch. They both had 100 tackles last season. So I thought that going into this year, they just got to build on it. Zaire Franklin only had five tackles this game. It was all Paris Bennett last week, and I thought that was great to see. Excellent for him. Certainly a confidence boost, but they was really unleashing him. They're letting him go. They blitz him from the outside. They let him go through the middle. He's excellent at just stepping over trash and along the offensive and defensive lines, just finding the ball carrier and getting after him. And then when he gets a chance to tee off on that quarterback, he's going to put his shoulder in the dirt and make sure he feels him. And that's what you want to see. And Paris Bennett, the best thing I thought was cool, too, was kids getting juicy now too a little bit, getting a little thick,
I like that
running around, jiggling a little bit. Yeah, it's what you want to see,
Running around, jiggling a little bit.
Hey, you know what I mean? So that's something that you want to see, especially from your bigger linebacker. So he's been making an impact for himself, and going forward, I hope he gets to continue doing that at the next level.
All right. After I was so rudely interrupted by Matt, no, I'm kidding. I just had to get that little take in there.
I had that question ready. I thought it was a good one.
I had to give him some sass today. I haven't yet. So, like I said, moving on to NC State, what can we expect?
It's going to be on Syracuse's defense this week. NC State's quarterback is completing passes at a rate of 74% a clip. Last couple of weeks, he's thrown for over 300 yards. They just beat a Florida State team who has tons of talent all over the field. I think Florida State is on a down year, so I think that played a part into it. NC State has had Florida State's number for a while, so I don't put too much stock into that win, but it is notable. Okay, and then we've got Syracuse's offense coming off of a week against a tough LSU defense that played man coverage across the board. Now NC State, they're going to play in a lot of zones, so it's going to be up to these receivers to kind of find their space. They're getting back to an opportunity where they have to get the ball out quickly. NC State has an incredible defensive line this year that they're comparing back to those 2007 teams with, was it Mario? No, not Mario Williams. Maybe it was Mario Williams.
Was it Jerry?
2007?
2007 year where they had that
Maybe
fabulous.
not Lawson.
The kid that went to the Bucks. I'm sorry, I should have had his name, but they have an excellent defensive line this year. So big key is just getting that ball out quickly. Receivers got to have a big game outside of Steve Ishmael and Irv Phillips. Got to have some of those guys come back and make some plays. But I think it's a favorable matchup for Syracuse to actually go on the road and get a win.
Yeah.
You get this win, now you're on the step up and up. I just need Syracuse this year to kind of get to that situation where they're like that fourth team looking in behind Louisville, Clemson, and Florida State. And once they get there, that's when you can start.
For sure, and we're starting ACC play, so we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you, Julian, for joining us yet again. This is your third time on the show.
Yes.
Hopefully we don't scare you away with all of our
calling Syracuse.
Don't put a we on that.
That's on
No,
you.
yeah, that is completely on you.
Those words didn't come out of me and Matt's
Jeez.
mouth.
Jeez.
Hey,
I was kidding. I just said.
I get on this show. And
we
just
could
have
put an I
severe
in team on that
Yeah,
one.
seriously.
TIEM
Grievous
team.
things said sometimes. It's
All
just
right,
like,
guys,
oh,
whatever.
goodness.
Let's move over to the NFL. Thank you again, Julian. Thursday night football. Week 4 starts up. Bears and Packers. Packers a 7.5-point favorite. Matt, who do you have?
I got Packers. Packers at home against the Bears. Aaron Rodgers had a little bit of a down week last week against Cincinnati. It's not going to happen again. And I think Packers are only going to get healthier. Bears don't.
My thoughts exactly. Jude?
I mean, the Bears had a hell of a week. They beat the Steelers. I didn't picture that at all, but I'm still going to give this to the Packers. Again, Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to have 2 bad weeks in a row. They should be able to beat the Bears easily.
Yeah.
I think the Bears secondary contains Aaron Rodgers again.
Again?
And then, y'all tripping right now. The Bears, Jordan Howard running the ball. He had that bad shoulder, still went for 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. My
Yeah.
man was eating everything up in fantasy
He was
last
jiggling.
week.
He was jiggling. Yeah, he was jiggling.
That's what I like to see right there.
That's going to be our catchphrase for our podcast.
Yeah.
We jiggling.
Yeah, that's our new section. Like, who was jiggling last week?
Oh man, that's
All right, who's going to be jiggling in Dallas? I'm sorry, in New England. Patriots taking on the Panthers and New
What about
England.
the Saints and Dolphins?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we could go there first. Why can't we have to go in an order?
Because this is the early game, the London game.
Oh, that's true.
9:30
London.
a.m.
All right,
Oh.
London.
It's like
Saints,
the rare.
Dolphins.
It's like the rare day. It's like they have
I
the
can
last
never watch
weekend.
those games. 'cause I'm
Yeah,
hungover.
I
wake up
You
at
can't. Nobody
9:30.
wakes up in time for
They're-
them.
get-
I don't
you
think
can
they're
get like
fun
a
to
full
watch.
15
do.
hours of
I don't
I wake
like
up
them.
for them. Yeah.
You
I'm
do?
I'm an
I-
addict. Yeah.
I-
Oh, of
I-
course. You have like
I'm sorry.
18,000 fantasy leagues.
That's-
He's 800 television,
I might need like a
TVs, screens.
fantasy football anonymous group or something.
Oh my god.
Hey, the first step is admitting you have a problem.
Right.
I don't think it's a problem, so I don't know if I'm there yet.
Jude's gonna be in there like, my name is Jerome. I drafted Aaron Rodgers in the second round.
Hi, Jude.
He's only scored 10 points.
Hey, he beat me in fantasy this week.
Yes,
Todd Gurley
I
went
did.
off, and I'm not happy about it.
Tom
Listen,
Brady was eating.
it's
Oh
fine.
my
Nice.
God.
Hey,
I had Tom Brady.
let's get to the game.
Moving forward, London. Jude's going to be up. So, Saints, Dolphins, New Orleans, a 1.5-point favorite. Who do you have?
The Saints played surprisingly well too
Mhm.
last week, but I don't think they can roll into
Really?
this week and take the win. They still have a terrible defense. They just had a great game against Carolina. On the opposite side of that, Miami had a terrible game last week. Couldn't get the ground game running. Jay Cutler didn't really well. Jay Cutler looked like Jay Cutler.
Some Jay Cutler.
He did Jay Cutler
He did some
things.
Jay Cutler things.
But I mean, I think they'll adjust this week. They'll start taking those deep shots with Devontae Parker. Jay Ajayi, he's going to get the ground game running and going again. He's not going to have 2 bad weeks in a row either. But basically, it depends on him. If he's able to get going, that opens a lot of things up for the Dolphins. And I'll just take him at home.
I'm like looking at this game like laughing because I think it's just like 2 terrible teams matching up against
Terrible
each
teams.
other. I think it's going to be such a boring game, and the fact that you wake up early to watch it, I wouldn't even watch it if it was in prime time probably.
Wow.
I
Jay
just-
Ajayi.
People thought the same thing about the Jags and Ravens game.
And the
then
Jags,
they
woo!
had fireworks last
Woo!
weekend.
The
All
Jags
right,
I loved watching.
Matt,
put
who
a
do you
beating
have?
on them.
I'm taking the Saints.
I
I'm
agree
taking
there.
the
I'm taking
Saints.
the Saints
it's,
as well.
It's neutral territory playing across the
True,
pond.
right.
Playing across the
They're
pond.
just listed as the home team. What am I
Yeah,
thinking?
no. They, see, if you looked at my sheet, one said at, but that said verse because it's neutral field. So neutral field, I think it's going to be a shootout.
Shootout.
Why is that?
Parker and Landry, they're both very talented on the outside. I think Cutler's going to have a bounce back.
Stills is a good
week.
deep threat too.
Stills is a good deep threat. So I think and then, Drew Brees. He's going to be tossing
True.
the ball around. Thomas caught his stride a little bit more last week. I think Saints are going to come out on top, but it's going to be
Shootout.
Julian?
Yep, I agree. That's going to be a shootout. I'm excited to see what Drew Brees does with his offense. Wonder if Adrian Peterson ever get going. That's a big question for me. But then on Miami's side of the ball, J.J. is going back home. He's from
London.
London. Yeah.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah. So he's
You've ever heard him speak? It's like the most weirdest thing ever. You're just,
Is
yeah.
he a British accent?
Yes, he does. It just shocks you. Like,
Yeah, it's
where'd that
disgusting.
come from?
It's actually disgusting. So really excited to see how he plays. Going back home. Whenever you get a chance to go back to the crib and play, I got a chance to play back in Florida every time. I was always just a little bit hyped up. Knowing the family was there. So such a long way from home, going all the way back there and getting an opportunity to play. I think the running game for Miami actually steps up because of that little intangible right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Miami.
All right, fair enough. All right, now New England hosting the Panthers. They're an 8.5-point favorite. Patriots.
I am going to
Go
say
ahead, Mr. New England boy.
the Patriots are going to win, but the Panthers will cover. I think the Patriots defense, they're in trouble this year right now. Hightower was out last week, but you give up that amount of yardage to a Deshaun Watson, rookie quarterback, and need some, Tommy football, late game heroics to save the game. But that Carolina defense is also no joke. I actually have Tom Brady as my dud for this week. Spoiler alert. So I think Patriots win at home, but Carolina is gonna make it close.
Woe is you. Your 2-1 team doesn't have a good defense. But anyways, I agree with you. The Patriots will win, but I disagree in thinking that they will cover the spread. Carolina played a terrible defense last week and couldn't do squat. What did he have? Cam Newton had 3 interceptions. He doesn't look comfortable back there. He's not running the ball, and this new offense they have where they're supposed to dink and dunk and move the ball up the field that way, it's not working for them either. Kelvin Benjamin might not play. He had a little knee injury last week as well. You're absolutely right. The Patriots defense, I don't know what's going on with them, but at the same time, it's still the Patriots. I mean, they might let you get a little score here and there. They're going to come out on top. They're going to adjust. They're going to make the correct moves so that way you won't be able to exploit them the same way that the team from last week exploited them.
So what's the dominant part of the Carolina defense?
The dominant part of the Carolina defense
Is their linebackers.
Yeah.
And where do the Patriots like to pass the ball? To their running backs and underneath. If Hogan...
last week he was bombing it downfield to Cooks.
Well, yeah, but if Hogan and Cooks can have a big game, but he's not going to have those safety valves because Kuechly, he's going to be all over Gronk. Then you have Shaq Thompson and Thomas Davis. Those guys are fast, and they're gonna be able to track down those running backs.
But still going to go with New England covering the spread.
All right, what about the Cowboys and the Rams? Dallas. It's in Dallas, 8.5-point favorite.
Boys.
The boys.
Boys win, but Rams cover spread.
Julian?
I got the boys. I'm not sure where Sammy Watkins is right now. And the Rams offense has nothing when he's not going.
All right. Lions traveling to Minnesota, taking on the Vikings. They're even.
Very surprising that this is even after Minnesota's performance last week. Lions are good. Vikings at home. Got to take the Vikings at home.
Case Keenum making me a believer. Vikings.
I got Stephon Diggs on my fantasy team. So I'm going to need him to ball out one more time. I apologize, Stephon Diggs. I benched you last week because you've been,
That was a bad move.
Playing total booty lately.
I hope he
But
sees this.
you know what? I'm really excited for you
We
next
have a
week.
wide
You've been
audience.
playing
We'll
great.
have
I
to
watched
add him in some stuff.
your Players Tribune, or read your Players Tribune article, so I'm picking the Vikings because Stephon Diggs gonna ball.
All right,
Full
we're in
sweep.
Houston. Houston, next game, Texans taking on the Titans. Tennessee, 2-point favorite.
Titans.
Why?
They had a great game last week. They finally got DeMarco Murray started. Hopefully they keep that trend going. He's spreading the ball out to all of his receivers, Eric Decker, Rashard Matthews. They were all active in the game. They might get Corey Davis back this week, so I really like what they're doing on offense, and I'm just not convinced with Deshaun Watson just yet, so I'm going to go with the Titans.
I'm convinced with Deshaun Watson. I am going with the Texans, dude. I'm going with the Texans. That defense, got torched, but, it was torched by Tom.
Torched by Tom.
Torched by Tom. Tommy
Now
football.
he's making up like catchphrases.
And I think that DeAndre Hopkins finally gets going,
Yeah.
and defense stifles Mariota, and Texans win at home.
Man, Mariota's been balling lately. I don't want to hear that.
I won't
Ballin'.
say it again.
Balling,
Don't
man.
say it
They
again.
can get Corey Davis, but I think Titans actually might be a sleeper going into for the rest of the
Okay.
year. You know, they've been with a little hit on their quarterback with
Sherman.
I like the offensive lineman coming up getting in his face though. You know, it tells me that
Terrell Lewin
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
yeah.
they were real tight. So that's good to see. And I think
he's a dog.
Yeah,
I wonder
yeah,
how
he's a
I wonder
dog.
how that conversation went between Tara Lewin and Richard Sherman.
Don't choke the woman.
No.
Excuse me, kind sir, you touched my quarterback in a way that I do not agree with.
I would appreciate if you ceased from doing that anymore.
Oh my
Probably
God.
exactly. Right.
And Richard Sherman was like, "You are right. I was out of line.
I do apologize, kind sir. You enjoy the rest of this game.
May we meet later on the field
Stop.
of battle."
This has gone too far. Oh my God. All right, moving on. Jacksonville, 4.5-point favorite. They're heading to New York. Taking
Oh,
on
look
the
at that!
Jets.
Jacksonville's a favorite now. Oh yeah, what's up?
Oh, yeah,
Jacksonville
what's up?
is the favorite now.
Whoa,
Nah,
whoa.
I'm not
opposed to the Jags. What's this about?
Whoa, roll the tape back to when Jude was talking about some.
That was the
Jackson-
one. Oh,
No,
it was
no.
for one game. I said
Listen.
I want to see them do it again, but I,
I get
still
so
wasn't
excited
opposed.
when Julian
You know
gets
what's
so
crazy?
excited.
Jude backpedaling better than I did. I play the league. Like that's crazy right now.
Listen,
Like,
listen. All I said is they did great week 1, but I want to see it again before I believe it. And then the second week, what happened?
yeah,
They got straight embarrassed, and then they came back week 3 and they did it again. So I still need to see it consistently to believe it. But
Julian,
I'll
give
wrap
us your
that
take here.
up to say I think they'll do it this week. Jets won last week, but even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Julian, floor is yours. Go.
Man, Coach Marone got these boys playing, son.
Playing?
Let me
Not
tell
week
you
two.
right
Jiggling.
Not week 2.
I just want to keep
now.
saying
Man, I don't want to hear.
jiggling.
He's having.
You don't want to hear week 2.
Everybody was talking about Blake Bortles and not being able to get the ball. He's playing an excellent game right now. Leonard Fournette is actually an incredible rookie running back. I love what he's doing. You know, running the rock, making grown men scared to tackle him. Out here stepping over people. You know, with the. I'm so that man stacked like dorm room laundry.
He
that
jiggling.
boy is ready to go.
Dorm
He's
room
actually-
Laundry. That is amazing.
That boy
Write
did-
that down.
That boy doing
Write
his
that
thing.
down.
So I like this Jaguars team right now. I got them with the win.
I loved watching them stomp the Ravens last week. I hate
Unbelievable.
the Ravens. Joe Flacco had 28 yards passing all game and 2 picks.
He had negative fantasy points.
Oh my
Negative fantasy.
Lord.
I've never seen that. That was unbelievable.
Having said that,
Here we go.
the Jets
Having
are going
said
to win
that.
at home.
Whoa.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are notorious for being unable to string together consecutive games.
And they play the best.
Write it down.
They play
Write
their
it down.
best games in London too. This isn't in London.
I know, and this is on Jets home turf, which like maybe they'll fill half the stadium, and then.
Mhm.
But I just think that you got Austin Severian Jenkins coming back onto that offense, which it could be a big difference and free up Curse and Robbie Anderson on the outside.
Right.
So Jets, I think, are going to win at home against the Jags.
All right, moving on to the 2-1-6. Cleveland taking on the Bengals. Cincinnati, a 3-point favorite. I'm going Cincinnati, guys. Sorry, you happy here? I'm not going to be talking about the Browns unless Kaiser steps up like he did in the fourth quarter.
That's a shocker.
What? Andy Dalton needs to step up as well.
The best chance this year the Browns
It's
have
gonna
so
be with the
far
Bengals?
of winning.
I agree.
And you pick
But
the
after I
Bengals.
see what they did last week, when the receivers can't catch,
Yeah,
you know what?
we talked about this. We talked about this last week, where like the Colts game was a big game for them.
Right.
They needed to win, and they didn't, in a very bad way.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm taking Bengals. This one.
Jacoby Brissett was looking like the real deal against them, man. But
Who you
What
taking?
happens when you have
you know
one
what?
year under
I'm taking the Browns in an upset. You know, receivers aren't good, but hey, guess what? I like Duke Johnson. I like the 1-2 punch with Isaiah Crowell. They're not completely devoid of receivers. I mean, last week was a bad week, of course, but I like the kind of upset because this isn't a great team that they're going up against, so it's not really an upset, but I like
Right.
the Browns in this one. Yeah.
Elsewhere in the AFC North, Steelers taking on the Ravens in Baltimore. Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger, 2.5-point favorite.
10 targets, 10 receptions, Antonio Brown last week. I don't know what to tell y'all about that man. You throw it to him, he gets the
He is
catch.
unreal.
It's wild, son. It's
I wish
like-
the Browns had like a half of him.
They got Corey Coleman. He's just always
He
injured.
has a
man.
broken hand, dude.
He's just always injured.
How you stay? You just got to the league and you hurt all the time.
All of last season.
All
That's
last
the Browns
season,
for
you got a
you. You
broken
know, it's
hand.
always something.
Yeah, he probably
That was my
punching
point
the
when I
coaches.
said Syracuse is the Browns of college football. There's always something happening. They're
Bad
just
enough
like,
you should've said it
seriously.
First time. But just
No,
in
you
case,
guys don't
just in case
understand
you
my
missed
point.
it.
Sorry, just
You
to
don't
reiterate.
understand my point. I'm not saying they are bad like the Browns. I am saying every time something happens, like, oh, it's just the Browns. It's because of the Browns.
Whenever
It's
you
because they're the
associate
Browns.
anything with the Browns, you're saying that they are the worst thing to ever happen to said.
They're an abomination
Situation.
to the
That's
situation.
not. You're
that they're
missing
in.
my point.
Good,
Moving on.
good
who do
attempt
you-
at trying to clean
You're
it up.
missing my point. Okay, Steelers. Obviously, you have the Steelers. Am I hearing that correctly, or just
Give 'em
a
to me.
big Antonio Brown fan?
Maybe I'm both. Maybe I don't. I don't even like Antonio Brown. He's the torch. He's the reason I got cut. He's the whole reason I got cut. I had
Don't
to-
complain though. He's Antonio Brown.
he got me cut, son. I'm
Now
sick
you're
of-
hanging out with us. Like, which would you rather have?
Millions of dollars are here with us. Come on.
I like to make
Oh,
our
boy.
friendship and our podcast.
Absolutely.
Podcast.
Definitely.
Listen,
Deal.
I'm jumping in here before we go down that lonely road of Julian getting cut by the Steelers and Antonio Brown. Ravens are winning this game. It's a bounce back game. The Ravens, again, just like
Bad enough you said it, though.
Jaguars are known for, going up and then coming back down. The Ravens, when they have a bad one, John Harbaugh gets them hyped, and Flacco's gonna throw for 4 touchdowns, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, the Ravens are back," and then they're gonna suck again the next week.
All right.
It is a bounce back game, but a bounce back game for Steelers. They lost last week as well. I mean, Joe Flacco, he's just so overrated. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Flacco's gonna be Flacco. He's gonna be meh. He'll maybe get you a win, but he's not gonna be great. Steelers are gonna win this one.
All right. Atlanta, 8.5-point favorite. They're taking on the Bills in Atlanta.
Falcons.
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 I think we all Falcons.
That's a
All
good
right.
one.
Your boy Jude.
Aye,
Giants.
aye, aye.
Bucks. Bucks 4.5-point favorite.
Bucks.
How do you feel
Let's
about
go Bucks. Bucks.
Bucks.
Bucks.
Bucks versus Giants. Bucks.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. We'll go ahead. No, I'm gonna go against the Grand. I'm gonna take the Giants. this time.
Oh.
God bless your heart, not me. Yeah, we're moving on.
Yeah, Bucks.
let's
All right, move on,
All right,
move on.
Bucks.
All right. Eagles, Chargers, Philadelphia, 1-point favorite.
A man can only take so much.
See, I was gonna take the Eagles, and then I found out that their whole defense got injured last week,
Yeah.
so I'm going Chargers.
All right. Jude, real quick.
There's that, and then there's also they're playing at home. They're currently winless. They're not that bad of a team. Offensively, they do great things. I'm gonna take the Chargers.
Chargers.
Chargers. All right. Let's move can't talk. Let's move through this quickly so we can make it on to fantasy because we missed that last week.
Yeah.
Real quick, guys. 49ers
Cardinals.
at Cardinals, 6.5-point favorite. Arizona.
Cardinals.
Cardinals win. 49ers cover.
Pat Pete in Arizona.
All right, I got Cardinals win, 49ers cover as well. Raiders at Broncos, Denver, 1-point favorite. I have the Broncos.
Broncos.
David Carr and them Oakland Raiders.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Interesting. Okay, Colts, Seahawks, Seattle, 12.5-point favorite.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Seahawks. Colts
Yeah.
cover.
Graham is
Colts
back,
cover?
baby.
Colts cover.
Graham is back. Seahawks.
All right, Monday Night Football, Redskins taking on the Chiefs. Chiefs, 7.5-point favorite.
Chiefs win. Skins cover.
Chiefs are hot. Chiefs cover.
I think that Washington goes ahead and pulls this one out.
Oh,
Ooh.
nice.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it's gonna be close.
All right, let's move on to the scoop. Time for fantasy time. Studs and duds, guys. Quarterbacks. Who do we want to start with? Who is your stud? Who is your dud?
My stud is Los Angeles Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna have a big week
Phillip
this week.
Rivers.
Phillip Rivers.
It's like
Going
an
to, like I
old
said,
school
going up
announcer.
against the Eagles. They have decimated secondary, decimated defensive line. He's gonna ball out. Dud. Thomas Brady, because he's projected in Yahoo to
You
get
said Tom.
25 points, and I think he's not gonna pass for that many yardage. If they're gonna win on the ground.
Well, he better because he's my quarterback.
I would love if you were right, but I don't think you'll be right. But my stud, I got Roethlisberger. For my dud, I got Cam Newton. Cam Newton, again, he's just not playing well. I can't put any stock into him right now.
Screwing over my fantasy team.
Sorry.
Running backs, guys.
we're gonna roll with the train, man. Let's go with the guy from Kansas City, Kareem Hunt. He's smoking everybody. I mean, I'm not gonna jump on the hype train as much as some other people and say he's the next, Marshall Falk or anything like that. But the kid is good.
Yeah, he is.
For the dud, Terrence West. He's probably gonna lose that job to Buck Allen, Javorius Buck Allen. So
pretty soon.
you might as well drop him now.
Stud for me, Anderson from the Broncos. I think it's going to be the same thing as against the Cowboys. We're going to really look to establish a run, and he's going to have a good game. And then I got Julian's boy Howard as the dud. I think the Bears are going to be playing from behind, so they're going to be throwing a lot, and Tariq Wilson is going to, or is it Cohen? Tariq Cohen's going to have that game, have a good game.
All right, you want to start with wide receivers?
I would love to. AJ Green,
My pleasure.
he's back on the right track. He's gonna have a good game against the Browns. And then I also have Antonio Brown as my dud.
What?
As my
Ooh.
Julian,
dud.
you want to weigh in on this?
It's just crazy because every time you throw to him, he gets the catch.
But
So.
What are your
Baltimore has a good
thoughts behind
secondary. Has a good secondary.
Just not last week.
The defense is playing with a chip on their shoulder, and AFC North games are always battles.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
So-
Unless the Browns are playing.
especially Ravens and Steelers. Yeah,
Steelers,
those are
Ravens,
always
so-
good.
All
So I
right.
think it's low scoring, and Antonio Brown's not gonna do anything.
Stud.
Break that down. What was the time on that so we can play that back?
Stud Odell Beckham. As much as the Giants will struggle, Eli Manning will find a way to force that ball into Odell Beckham. Saw it last week. He caught the two touchdowns. Only reason it was kind of a game.
Is this really your stud, or are you just praying this happens?
No, this is really my stud. Listen, the Giants are. I'm not gonna get into it. I could go on and on about it. I'm not gonna get into it. Odell Beckham, he is the man. Like you can't argue that at all. Just
Dud?
throw the ball up, let it happen. Dud, Pierre Garçon had a great week last week, but he got a matchup against Pat this week. Patrick Peterson is not gonna be easy breezy for him.
Yep.
You know what? Whenever Jude talks about the New York Giants,
It's right here.
if you want to
It's right
tell,
here.
if you want to tell on if he's like if it's from the heart or his mind, he gives you like this real quick like he just gazes into the eyes of Odell Beckham's ghost and makes a decision, and it's hilarious to see because they twinkle back.
He has a little star in his eye right there.
And then you see him get into the mic. So.
I'm just a man who's disappointed right now. You know? It's hard for me. That's it.
Disappointment's the worst, dude. I'm so sorry.
What do we got? Tight ends.
Yes, tight ends.
I'll go.
Well.
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham.
And this is purely out of hope for my fantasy team. Like I need him to do well.
Well, this is the fantasy segment.
And then the dud, Gronk.
Gronk.
Roll
Keithley's
on.
gonna be
Jude?
riding him all day.
Stud, ride them while they're hot, man. Zach Ertz been putting up numbers all season. He's going to continue to do the same. Dud, Charles Clay. He's not one of those consistent kind of guys. He does good, he does bad, he does good, he does bad. Last week was good. This week is going to be bad.
Real quick, guys, who do you have defense-wise?
I've got Arizona as the stud,
Right.
and Seattle as the dud.
I took the Jaguars. Hopefully they'll be consistent this week as the stud. Dud, I got the Redskins against Kansas City. Kareem Hunt, again, he's going to run all over those boys.
All right,
Yeah.
running out a little bit of time, so let's just do a few waiver pickups. Who you guys picking up? Anybody you see on the waivers?
I think my big pickup this week would be Donta Foreman from the Houston Texans. They are using him more and more every week out of the backfield. I think he's gonna start to put up numbers.
I like Chris Carson. A lot of people still aren't picking him up, but he's now the guy for Seattle. You got to ride that wave. They like to run the ball. He's going to get a ton of opportunity.
All right, that'll do it for fantasy. Hopefully I recover this week after Jude just kicked my butt. He had Todd Gurley, so I'm not happy, or else I would have killed him. Thanks again for joining us for this week on the Gridiron Edition 4. Special thanks to Julian for, again, joining us. Get your little, what is that called that you always do?
Oh, that's my Kobe.
Your Kobe. Okay,
That's
yeah.
my Kobe.
Anyways, thank you, Julian, again for joining us. Jude, as
We
always.
jiggling, baby.
We jiggling.
Jiggling.
Matt, as always, I'm your host, Brooke Meanahan. We'll see you back next week right here on the Gridiron.